how to put English on the basketball.
Hello and welcome to another episode of With the English. We are on to episode number 16. Is there a Lakers player?
Episode. Oh, what for the thumbnail? Don't know. We'll have to find that, won't we? I'm sure there is. But yes, episode 16. How are we, Sam?
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Tough week. Personally, being bipolar, it's all fun, but otherwise good. How about yourself?
I don't have that. But yes, it's been a busy, hectic week, and when it comes to basketball, it's been a very stressful one, as usual, being a Laker fan.
Hmm.
And that's where we'll start today. A few
Yeah.
days on now, there was a big matchup at the weekend of Lakers Warriors. Lakers winning double overtime. It almost felt like two games. It was so long. 145 to 144. And
Mm.
the biggest take I've got from it is how still at this stage in their careers, LeBron and Steph Curry are playing at the highest level. I'm sure most NBA fans would think this would be over by now, but it's not.
No, I was very shocked to see double overtime, and I was like, "Oh!" and enjoyed the. I was like, "Oh, this is an interesting high score." So I knew it went to overtime. Didn't see it was double overtime. Sorry, and I was like, "Wow!" Just looking at the condensed highlights, which was like 15 minutes long, normally 10 minutes. So that extra 5 minutes, and just the ending and the game was great, especially if you are on the winning side, which obviously in your case that was the case, so you were happy. But it was a great game to like just watch the highlights of. So I mean, how was it from watching it more in depth than someone like me who probably, some
Well,
people have watched that bit.
I don't know if you saw my messages at the weekend in our
Hmm.
group chat, but obviously, as a UK fan, we have to watch most of the time the following day. So during my watch the next day, I was getting pretty pissed off with the way we were playing, especially in the third quarter. As we know, the Warriors are known for being a third quarter team
Mm.
and putting teams to bed in the second half. And it looked to be the case. They went up about 15. Torian Prince was playing all those minutes, and I will not digress on Torian Prince and Darvin Ham, and not just yet anyway. But I decided to check the final result before finishing. I was that pissed off, and I ruined it for myself because when I saw the score was as high as that and double overtime, it was pretty evident I missed a great comeback and a great back and forth fourth game, especially in those two overtime periods. And you look at I also missed obviously on real time, but LeBron posting more career high numbers. It's just, when does this guy stop? When, like, I know listeners are going to be like, oh, bloody LeBron James again, but it's hard not to keep talking about him. Am I right?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I know there's. I saw some people hating on it because they're like, "Well, yeah, it was double overtime. Of course, he's going to put up big numbers." But then you got to look at it as
Yeah.
like he's still like older than me and you, and putting up numbers that, I played football at the weekend and the ref added on like 10 minutes of injury time, and that was absolutely shocking. Like struggling to play. I'm happy to play 25 minutes, 30 minutes at max. So playing like nearly 40 minutes when I expected it was tough,
Mm.
and that's just amateur Sunday league soccer football. So trying to play 45, 50 minutes in a high intensity professional top NBA arena. Yes, I know he's got the preparation there, but you don't prepare to play two overtimes. You prepare to play probably 35 minutes two or three times a week.
Hey, back in October, it was going around that we were going to manage LeBron's minutes to average in 25, but because we're so poor, that changed quite quickly. But yeah, you're right. It's a bit of a bad argument to say it's easy to get those sort of stats when there's two overtimes. The guy's 39 years old.
Yeah, he's just looked after himself. His peak. sort of peak conditioning, peak strength and conditioning, you know, and I've been looking at different programs and stuff. I was like, I need to get fitter again, and I'm looking at programs and stuff like that. And I get it. He's got the money to be able to do that. He's got all of that, and it's his job. But it's still tough work to put that demand on your body, especially when he's got enough money to retire as well. He's already got a couple of rings. I know he still wants to go for one more, and he wants to play with his son. So he's got a bit of drive and motivating factors. But I think it's great. I can't dispute that you want to talk about LeBron James, Steph Curry doing what they're doing, to be honest with you. And the only thing I'm disappointed about is the fact you checked the score. I mean, I checked my score this morning and didn't watch live because as soon as I found out Maxey and Embiid weren't playing, I was like, I'm not staying up to watch this. The Denver game the other night was different because it was an earlier game for us, and I ended up watching it. It was enjoyable, but you got to see it all through and don't cheat yourself out of the. Unless it's like a 30-point deficit, you should keep it going.
Yeah, but I even messed that up last season when we went down to Dallas by 27, and I think that's a valid time to
yeah, that is to be fair.
You know, clock in, check the score, and just maybe not watch the rest of it. Get on with your day. But I've done this a few times. I did it a few times last season. It's the first time I've done it this season. I mean, I've got a good streak with doing it because every time I've done it, we seem to have won the game. So maybe I've got a bit of a sixth sense about it. But yeah, I don't know what I'm going to learn. Just like you say, persevere. And like you know, the commentary always say no lead is safe in the NBA these days, and it's true because you know the 3-point shot, and you know just we've seen you know the stats for the last week with offense and players getting 60 points, 50 points, 70 points. Like no lead is safe. And I you know if ironically if Lakers are leading by that amount, I wouldn't be comfortable.
No.
So why should it be the other way around? But I guess that's when supporting your own team, you always sort of think the worst. But yeah, like I say, it's hard not to talk about these two still. They're still doing it, you know, in LeBron's in year 21. I think what Steph Curry's in 16, 17, something like that. And it's just I don't know when we sometimes talk about the young stars coming through, but these two are reluctant to pass that baton, yeah.
Agree. Another all-star for LeBron as well.
Yeah, and then obviously leading into the all-star selections, there LeBron's still a starter. We can touch on Curry in a sec, but yep. What are your thoughts on the roster for the starters in the West and the East?
Yeah, I just loaded it up just to double check that LeBron was the captain, to be honest.
Can I just say as well, I'm really happy it's East versus West again.
Yeah, same. And I think and it's nice to know that excuse me, that a player like each player in each conference that are captains in Giannis and LeBron are still like LeBron still perform like both have played well this season. It's not like they've been poor. Okay, Lakers aren't in a massive winning position where they're looking like they're going to be a top 2 or 3 seed, and obviously Bucks have made a change with the coach, which obviously we can now it's official that Doc Rivers is there. But both players still play quite well, so they both deserve it, and both you know Giannis is probably the most dominant player still, you know, up there with you know Embiid and LeBron when he wants to have that little moment he can get to the rim. So I can't argue with the captains, and I think the West is really tough, but I can't dispute the West, to be honest with you. I mean, Curry.
Yeah, I think
you could argue, but SGA
maybe,
deserves
but
it.
last few years we've had KD and LeBron as captains, but that's mainly because KD was in the East, but now KD's back in the West. That becomes a popularity contest. But as far as form goes, yeah, I can't argue with Durant, can't argue with Luka, especially with Luka. Like he is, you know, the right player
After
for an
last
All-Star
week.
weekend because he plays All-Star every game because he does no defense and he just puts up ridiculous numbers and does all these trick passes and shoots from wherever he wants. So I think he treats every week as All-Star week. And yeah, can't dismiss SGA at the moment. He's I think seriously he should be considered for MVP for the way he's been playing and
Hmm.
being the pinnacle for his team, going from sort of 10th seed to at the moment top two, top three, but they were top for a point. So
Hmm.
I think Shay's well deserved.
Yeah, I
Like you say,
agree.
maybe you could argue Curry being in there, but I'm happy that Shay's in there.
No, I'm in full agreement. It's the East that probably. I mean, I'm not too upset with the East, to be honest. But again, you could argue a couple of players. I know you more so than me, even though I've got a player that I think could get in there. But you're more upset about it than me. I think it's Damian Lillard that you're not too keen on.
That's just nonsense. Just all right, he's playing for a good Bucks team, but they're having their issues.
Hmm.
Hence why a coach has been replaced there, and it's shown here that he's averaging, 25, 6 and 4. I didn't realize he was averaging that high, and I guess the reason I thought that was because I don't think, apart from a handful, he's not really had the same impact on winning like he
Hmm.
did in Portland. Now I know it's going to be different regardless, because everyone will be like, "Well, he's with Giannis," so I get that, and it's a new team. I'm not saying he's had a bad season. My argument is, I believe he hasn't had as a good season as Donovan Mitchell and especially Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, I think Jalen Brunson uh, deserves it 'cause he can play better defensively as well. Not by much, but better. He averages similar to Maxi. Maxi obviously wasn't far off, but that's more popularity because of Philadelphia being one of the biggest markets. But yeah, Brunson, I am surprised because New York's obviously the biggest market, and I would have thought they would have had enough votes, but obviously the coaches and players, and I think that's the problem, right? People I know inside the NBA, we'll go over their reserve picks in a moment, whether we agree with them, but they always say, popularity sometimes will get it wrong. But I actually think the fans' priority, I think Bronson did score higher than Lillard in the fan voting, but it was the player and coaches that brought him up, but there wasn't much in it. So I think the fans probably got that one more right. But I think he deserves to be an all-star, just whether he's a starter or not. And I think, to be honest, it doesn't really matter as long as Brunson's in there, and Lillard does deserve to be in the 10, 11 man roster. I don't. I think as long as both those players are there, then that's acceptable to me. But it is obviously nice. I don't know if it has contract implications, i.e., bonus payments, if you're named as a starter. But I think as long as both players are playing in the All Star game, I have no problem with that. But if Brunson then doesn't get in as a reserve, I'd be a bit upset for him,
I
even though I'm
don't
not a
I
Knicks
don't think
fan.
he needs to worry about that.
No, I think the player coaches and media voting will get him in.
In fact, do you remember in Betweeners, which is a UK show for any American listeners, when Jay says, "So I'm not first reserve." I think that's what Jalen Brunson should be saying to Adam Silver right now, like, "So I'm first reserve, right?"
Yeah, I don't. I would be very shocked if he's not. And Mitchell, I don't know the exact amount of games he's played, and now Maxi's missed a few games. I don't know. I'm happy to accept that he might not be there this year, but I think Donovan's missed a few games, and obviously he's switching positions and stuff. So obviously it's going to be interesting, and he's done well to adjust without Garland and stuff. So it is tough. I think both. I think the big men side of things are sorted on both sides of I think the guards for both East and West, you got players that you can argue could start, but I think the West have definitely got it right. The East, you could argue Brunson versus
Do you reckon there's
Lillard.
any annoyed Clipper fans with that West team? Because I reckon they'd be shouting for their boys Leonard and Paul George.
No, and I was, that's what I said about Maxi, right? He's missed a
Yeah,
few games now. And
yeah.
I know Embiid has, but Embiid's dominated every game he has played um, to the fullest extent. Paul George hasn't done that. Kawhi has done it from in a few games from memory. For me, no. I think The only team that could be argumentative about stuff is obviously the Suns could argue that Booker's had a couple of good games, but again, he's been injured, so you can't, from an injury perspective, you can't argue. But he's come back in the lineup and changed the team. You remember when he came back, and we mentioned it. They won like 5 or 6 on a row. So you can't, and I wouldn't care if I was a Clippers fan. Like, I don't care about Embiid not winning MVP. Like, you don't care if your players aren't in the All-Star. One of them will get named as a reserve. I'm sure Kawhi will. But they want to win a championship and be healthy for that. And that's the most important thing. And I think
I think you're right, to be honest, because I'm not fussed about LeBron or AD being an all-star. My first thought was, I'm thinking they better not get injured,
yes.
At All-Star weekend,
Yes,
because I'd be livid. And with how the All-Star games have gone in recent years, I don't know how you feel, but it's been pretty boring.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I watched the events. I don't watch the All-Star game. I watched the highlights the next day. Since
I
I
prefer
think the last time I watched it was when Drew Holiday made an All-Star appearance as a Sixer, and I remember Usher was doing the music for it. So it's been a while. That was like 2011 or 12, something like that. So yeah, quite a long time.
Saturday night's the main event, but they just need to get some decent players to be in the dunk contest. But no one's going to commit to it.
No. So inside the NBA reserves, I want your view on this. So we'll go with the West. So they all agreed Curry. They all agree Edwards, who I think is probably the other player we haven't really mentioned, to be fair. They all mentioned Kawhi.
Edwards will take LeBron's place when he eventually does retire.
Wow, not as a captain, I don't think. I don't think he's got the popularity.
No, not as a captain, as his space in the starting lineup.
Oh, okay, yeah, I agree. They agreed on Kawhi. They agreed on Anthony Davis. They agreed on Paul George, which I'm not too sure on. They disputed Booker. Sabonis and Booker got 3 each. Kenny did go for Fox instead of Sabonis, and Charles went for Fox instead of Booker. So, what's your thoughts?
I don't really get the thinking on Sabonis, if I'm honest. He's been good, but has he been all-star? No, the Kings have dropped off this season. I think if you're going to have some Kings players, you have one or the other, be it Sabonis or Fox. I know positionally they're different, but I find it a bit strange to have two Kings players in there, if I'm totally honest.
Yeah, Charles went with the two Kings. I agree. From what I've not gone. Wow, like Fox does wow me because he is a great player, but I haven't gone, wow, I'm waking up to breaking news about Fox doing something special on a regular basis. I do like Sabonis. I won't lie. I think Sabonis is a good one. The one I debate more than Sabonis is Paul George. I just think, again, lack of game time and stuff like that for me would be. I think he's obviously a great player. There's no disputing that. I just again think playing, but they're the only two I agree with all the others. I agree with their first 3 they mentioned each: Curry, Edwards, and then Kawhi and Anthony Davis. Sorry, first 4 I agree with those, and then I think the last 3 spots are always going to be debatable. But I certainly agree with those 4 players being on the reserve list.
Yeah, I think players like Zion miss out because, like you mentioned, playing time. There's no one really else on the Dallas team. Curry hasn't been all-star. You look at OKC, only one player from OKC in the All-Star, and they're sitting in third, and one player from the Timberwolves. No Cat, no Gobert, who's apparently going to be, the lead runner in Defensive Player of the Year. He's not there. A lot of it's who's the more popular players, isn't it? Essentially, in this.
I mean, Cat's
these
a good
selections.
shout. But then it showed, I think the other night, even though he got his points, it showed that, I don't know, his immaturity and his team's chemistry to try and get him the ball, and he wasn't as dominant as he thought he was when they were realised that they were just going to keep going to him, whereas Embiid still got his. Granted, team was
I'm actually the player I'm gutted for, who I really enjoy watching, is Alperen Sengun, and I think he's missed out because the last month or so, Houston haven't been very good.
I was going to say I don't know if you want to have a Rockets player in the. I know it's harsh because it's not a team award, as Shaq says when he does the. But you need to be in a winning. It's easy to put up numbers when they say, right, you go out and do it. You're the number one option on a poor team or a number two option on a poor team. Just throw up shots. We don't care if we win or lose, because the Rockets are kind of in that sort of thing right now. I think this offseason they've become a really good team.
You're only going to get picked in a losing team if you're a superstar, i.e. Steph Curry. You know, the team's 12th in the league, 5 games behind 500, and he still gets selection. But he's dragged them to those 19 wins.
Yeah.
Their team is like, they've played the most clutch games this season. And I'm pretty sure every time I watch a Warriors recap, it's a last play of the game, and it's give the ball to Steph and try and get us out of trouble. It's ridiculous. But I don't feel too bad for them because I don't like Warriors. But anyway, moving on to the East. How do you see the East?
Yeah, so again, because it's the best show on TV, let's go with their sort of what they've predicted as the reserve. So they all agree on Brunson, and we've discussed that. So I think that's 100%. Mitchell they've gone with as well. I think 100%. Me and you agree on that. They've gone with Maxey as well. Obviously, I'd like to see that, but I can accept if he doesn't. But if you're going to put in a player with similar numbers like a Brunson and Mitchell, I mean, they've got probably a little bit more points per game, but then Maxey obviously deserves it. They've all gone Bam, all gone Jalen Brown, Banchero. I do like watching him play. If there's one Magic player I do like watching play, it's him. So I like that. And then they disagree on Randall and Young and Turner. I know Turner's had a good recent final form. Randall, I don't think has been it for the Knicks. And Young's been really good. I think Young's come into form at the right time. So if you go off recency bias, I can see why he would get in. But I completely agree with who they've agreed with as their initial sort of with them, the 6. It's only the 7th player they've disagreed on. So I'm actually with them on that. I wouldn't dispute those 6 players. I'd be quite happy seeing those 6 players being selected. What about you?
Yeah, I think it's just the last one that I struggle to agree with any of them. You know, Young,
I
Randall.
think Trey recency bias would be the one that probably gets in.
Maybe, and the fact that he'll shoot, from the logo in the game and that sort of aspect to it. But not sure why Charles went Miles Turner. Again, not saying he's had a bad season, but is he all-star?
I mean, he's improved his shooting. He's definitely improved his shooting, but I think Halliburton is obviously helped him become a better player, open up the floor for him a lot more. So he's definitely I think he should be up there for most improved player, or whatever, or sixth, most improved player. But I don't know if I'd put him as an all-star.
It's difficult because I'm looking at the teams and I'm thinking about the players involved, and no one's really standing out to me to replace those names. So it's hard for me to argue it too much because I'm just sat there thinking, who could take their place.
Yeah, I really couldn't. Like I say, if you want to go Young and Randall, then Maxey misses out, and then I would be like, well, I'd be a bit upset because I think Maxey's been more consistent. Like I say, Young recently has been really good. That's not. I think every week, at least once, one game, I've woken up to something about Trae Young doing something decent for Atlanta. So the recency bias, and Randall is just hit and miss. I think he's still not. He's not as good as he was the other year, but then he had such a great year. Like, what was it, 26 and 11 or something he was averaging? It's hard to then, and then he got injured and stuff. So it is hard to, once you set that expectation, to maintain that expectation.
Yeah, like I say, we've gone off the TNT selections and they're the experts, so we'd be stupid to disagree too much. But yeah, I think that last eastern spot's a bit of a good one. Happy that Banchero's on there. I think he's been.
Banchero's one of my favourite players to watch. I would love it if the Sixers grab him. Me and my friend John from America, when we messaged about, because we played Magic twice in close close space of time, and yeah, we both said just love watching him play. Such a good player.
Yeah, it's a shame Magic have dropped off a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah, and the
Especially
Magic
they
UK
lost.
guys are pretty cool as well, aren't they? So it's always fun interacting with them, and they seem like good guys. You do hope they do well for them, but yeah, I don't think they're going to do much this year.
No, well, I was very incorrect about the East being weak, wasn't I? And there's some good teams in there now, and some big winning streaks, to be honest. So yeah, that's All Star. Moving on, let's get to your favorite part of the podcast.
Okay.
Oakley's challenge. I need to work on that name. I know it sucks, but it was a play on words with Coach's challenge, Oakley's challenge. Don't know if anyone got that, but yeah, it's probably a work in progress.
Let's have a
So,
look then.
Mr. Oakley, the Lakers play in Atlanta tonight. So I'm going to go
Yes.
for a Hawks player.
It's a bit blurry, so I can't
God, it's-
see. Okamongu.
I think we might get cancelled after that attempt. But Onyeka Okongwu,
I saw the one I couldn't quite see. In fairness, it was a bit blurry on the.
I will give you that. It was a bit blurry, but yeah, that attempt may get us cancelled, so I might have to rethink that segment. Anyway, let's look at X and O's. It's my turn to ask you some questions.
I know, and I never trust you with like this whole bit. It's a bit harsh when I have a back to back, but here we go.
No, do you know what? It's quite friend. Actually, no. Before we go on to that, before we go on to that, I wanted to touch on your jerseys guy. The top selling jerseys have come out. Are you proud of
Yes.
your boy Maxi?
Yeah, he's ahead of Embiid. I think again, you can see the correlation between the All Star and some of the jersey sales, like you said, the popularity side of it. So yeah, he definitely
Well,
can.
Victor Wembanyama's already at number 4. So.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the difference of that is because he's I think the whole of France are buying into that. So like, if we had a
True,
British
yeah,
player
yeah,
that came into the league, then we would, right? So I know like when Jay Ajayi played for the Philadelphia Eagles and played for the Dolphins beforehand, two big franchises who've got big fan bases here in the UK. A lot of people had the Ajayi jersey because he was a British player. So I think it would happen here as well. And you probably in certain parts of the world you're going to have that, Slovenia, and stuff like that with the Europe with Luca, and you're going to have
yeah.
Joker's jersey sales. But France is very invested in the NBA, so now they've got an NBA player.
All I want to know
So
is who the hell's buying LaMelo Ball jerseys? Is it LeVar Ball? Is he buying all the LaMelo Ball jerseys available?
well, the thing is, it's probably just he's a young lad. I don't know if he's got a YouTube channel or stuff like that. It's probably to do with that.
Just leave it, mate. There's no logic to it whatsoever, if you ask
I
me.
agree,
But
and he's not even like it's like he's a franchise.
he
Yeah,
plays for the Charlotte Hornets. No one's
yeah,
buying
it's
it.
not even like a franchise. It's massive. Yeah,
Yeah. Anyway, let's quick fire these because time's limited apparently.
it is.
Number one, Cavs and Knicks on a hot streak. One of these teams will jump into the top 3 in place of the Sixers.
I'm going to say X because we will make a trade at some point and retain it. So X.
You're gonna need to because they are hot on your tails now.
Yeah, but we'll be fine.
Hot on your tails, and I mean you're tied with New York
Actually, I
and
tell a
Cleveland
lie.
are half coming back.
I need to check these reports, but there's reports that Embiid's going to be dealing with this knee injury for the rest of the season now because he's going to need surgery potentially. So if that's true, then I'll
Oh,
say
so
O.
he's ducking everyone then.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on because I know you're
That's
gonna laugh.
sensitive after my yeah.
It's sensitive, yeah. After the big LeBron Curry showdown that we mentioned earlier in the episode, and then playing at the highest level this weekend, it's safe to say we still have 2 to 3 more years of these two making all-star appearances, and before their era finally ends.
I'm going to go X again.
Not 2 to 3 years. How many years we're talking?
I'll go 2, but I don't think 3.
Just half an X. Just start
Half an
sort of-
X. Yeah, I think this year, if you don't include this year, if you say in 2025, 2026, 2027, I don't think 27 is going to happen, and it'd be borderline for 26 for them. But they're definitely all stars again next year.
Last one is very interesting. What you're taking to be all-star. You mentioned it earlier in the episode. All-star voting should be for the fans only.
No, I've got all X's. No, players and coaches should have a say. Or you say the starters are fans only. Again, another half X. Starters are fans only. Reserves are players and coaches. That would.
I agree with that. I agree with that, and I think you should get on the phone to Adam
Silver right
Silver.
now. Yeah, or Dave
That's a good
Silver, as our
idea.
Sixers fans call him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went with the fans bit because I'm with you. I disagree. I think the fans could make sure with votes. I mentioned before, Austin Reeves always gets in the first, fan voting, which, as much as I love him, that's ridiculous. So it does get a bit silly. So yeah, that's not a bad shout. We're done, mate. We're done.
Yeah, they weren't too bad. I'll give you that. I thought you were going to be tougher. So thank you very much, Glenn, and thank you everyone for listening. If you've made it to the end, I know a lot of people like our X's and O's, so maybe they just skip to this bit, but we appreciate it
Possibly.
anyway. Make sure you like, subscribe the YouTube channel. Make sure you like, and actually, we should ask for people to review the podcast on the podcast platforms, because Spotify and Apple do like people to review their podcast. So
They do. Yes, please leave a comment, leave a review, even if it's negative. We'll take it on our chins, and hopefully Sam won't get sensitive about that. But yes, please leave comments, engage with us, follow us on our X page, which is @withTheEnglish1, Y number 1, Sam.
because we are the only one.
We are the only one. I'll take that to court.
I know you will. We'll copyright it.